Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Raleigh SEO Meetup. I'm Drago Braddock with Oak City Tech, and I'll be your presenter this evening. We're going to talk about the past, present, and future of SEO looking out into 2022 and beyond. Let me just switch over to my slideshow presentation, and we'll go ahead and get started. Again, welcome to the Raleigh SEO Meetup. My name is Drago Braddock, and I'll be your presenter this evening. These first few slides are just a little bit about me and my company, so we'll go ahead and skip over those for now. I'll make sure Frank has a link to the presentation so he can send it out to all of you. So let's get started with what happened in 2021. Should it matter to you? And did SEO die again? Let's get started with Core Web Vitals. This was something that honestly did not even pop up on my radar. Page loading speed, interactivity, and visual stability should have been on your checklist since 2015. For those of you not aware, let me go into a little bit of detail. Loading performance is measured by largest contentful paint, essentially how quickly the biggest item on the page loads entirely. Interactivity is measured by first input delay, basically the first signs of life from your website, ideally below 100 milliseconds. Visual stability is measured by cumulative layout shift, the elements shifting around on your website from side to side, up and down. More on that on the next slide, actually. In general, Core Web Vitals were added to other factors such as mobile friendliness and safety of browsing under the umbrella of page experience ranking factors. A little bit more about cumulative layout shift. While I don't think it's a big deal because I've been paying attention for a while, I've noticed that other webmasters and SEO folks still haven't caught on to the train, for lack of a better term. So I wanted to have a slide specifically mentioning cumulative layout shift. Personally, I thought it was only a matter of time before it became a ranking factor, and it was incorporated into the Core Web Vitals in mid-2021. I mean, put yourself in the shoes of a visitor. It's quite annoying from their perspective to see something on the website shift unexpectedly, let alone disappear. It could also cause some serious errors for businesses where a customer needs to make a decision but can't click on the wrong button due to shifting elements. In short, you don't want your website shifting around and moving while it's rendering. The Google Business Profile was a little bit more of a I guess an important update in my eyes. It wasn't just a rename. The importance of local maps and your business profile has only increased throughout the past year. We saw a deeper integration between maps and local business profiles across the board. Besides the name change itself, Google says it's now easier to claim and verify your profile. Furthermore, as of late 2021, businesses have the option to reply to messages directly from the Google Maps mobile app in the Updates tab. Images was another area where I felt 2021 brought some great clarification. In February 2021, Google provided documentation on image SEO best practices. While the advice was focused primarily on ranking well in Google Images, I feel that marketers can apply many of the suggestions to image ranking in general. Duplicate content. This is something that's been talked about pretty much since the beginning of SEO. I feel like it's been basically beaten to a dead horse, or whatever the phrase is. It's just something that, keeps coming up year after year. But finally, last year, we got some clarification from John Mueller himself. I linked the actual video where the Google Office Hours, or whatever that program is called, where the question was asked and John Mueller directly responded to. I linked that video down there. You can see at the bottom of the screen. He clarified to say that if they find the same information on multiple pages and someone searches for specifically for that piece of information, then they're just going to try to find the best matching page. That's it. They're not really going to mark anyone down or up or anything. They're just going to try and find the best page based on the query. This is especially true for generic product descriptions for e-commerce, because product descriptions can be very generic, and so they're shared across many websites. That's enough about the past. Let's kind of talk about the present. And Frank reminded me that there's always new folks coming into SEO. And so what's the basics, or what's essentially established for him and I, isn't necessarily true for the newcomer. So I wanted to take a few minutes and just briefly go over the basics of SEO. What should we focus on? The number one thing I can say is to optimize your website for a mobile experience. Compress images and give them a descriptive name and alt text, but don't use CSS because Google says they don't read that stuff. don't. Cut down on extra code and plugins so your website loads in less than 3 seconds. Ideally, I like to shoot for 2 seconds. Practice internal linking, breadcrumbs, and have a sitemap so all your pages can be found and indexed. You just want to give Google as many opportunities as it possibly can have to find every single piece of content or page on your website entirety. It's also important to install an SSL certificate. Sometimes I still see websites that don't have those, which is amazing in 2022, but make sure you install SSL certificate. Make your URL short and descriptive. In my opinion, if someone can remember your URL, it's probably a good descriptor and it's probably going to rank well. Practice good website architecture and navigation. Again, this kind of falls back to the sitemap and helping Google index your various pages, but you also want to have a good architecture and navigation structure for your users so they're able to navigate around and find things you want them to find. And finally, in terms of optimizing the website for mobile experience, use descriptive title tags and meta descriptions. You should still absolutely do these, even though Google writes them at their discretion. The point, again, is to give Google everything it possibly needs to classify your website. Google knows no one will visit a slow/sloppy website, so you're essentially taken out of the running if your website isn't up to a base set of usability standards. After you have your website up to these base set of usability standards, we're going to want to do keyword research so we understand what terms our customers are searching for, how much traffic those terms can send our way, and how difficult it might be to rank for them. I mean, how do you expect to get traffic if you don't know what your target demographic is searching for? This isn't field of dreams, build it and they will come type situation. You got to put in the work and find what folks are looking for pertaining to your specific industry. Content marketing. This is essentially the bread and butter of SEO. There's not much to say here other than once you know what your target demographic is searching for, you need to create content that appeals to them. Remember, Google's search's only job is to match user questions with answers, not to give you free traffic. And along those lines, I feel it's important to note that also evergreen content can pay dividends over time. You create a piece of content once and it continues to bring in traffic over and over and over again. Number 4 is something that is often overlooked. I honestly don't even see it in guides these days. So I am wondering if it's too basic to even mention, but I feel the need to bring it up is to get crawled. Set up a Google Search Console account and make sure each page is manually indexed. Nothing really else to say other than make sure it gets done. Link building. This is something that's been controversial over the years. Do you pay for links? Do you not pay for links? How do you get links naturally, et cetera, et cetera? It's become easier and easier as time goes on, in my opinion. Here are a few tips that we use, so to speak. You can start posting the content you made to social media for others to find and repost. Obviously, this is going to take time. It's very organic, and it's a natural ebb of flow in time. Someone's going to have to find your content, so you're going to have to wait for it to be posted somewhere. Alternatively, you could try and speed things up by emailing webmasters and offering them a unique piece of content just for them to post on their website. I'm sure you've heard of this before. It's called guest blogging. And the last technique is to contact reporters. Just reach out to them, ask them what type of stories they're writing right now, and see if you can help them with any of the base information or underlying story. A great platform for that is called Harrow, Help a Reporter Out. It's been a fantastic tool. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about what's coming in the future, what's coming next. These are kind of my opinions on what I think is coming up next. Voice search. It's coming, but it's not coming anytime soon. It is, however, important to note that Google has been architecting its search results pages to accommodate shorter answers, mainly in the form of featured snippets and answer boxes. It's done so with the help of AI and BERT algorithm, which was introduced in late 2019. And along those lines, artificial intelligence is being integrated into all facets of Google search, but they keep this very tight to the chest. So I really can't comment anymore other than the fact that I do feel like it's going to be used more and more as time goes on. Accessibility, the twofold, there's two things I want to talk about here. The first one is accessibility in terms of devices. So it's estimated that almost 73% of users will access the internet only through mobile devices by 2025. Personally, I've been in a mobile first mindset since 2015, and I'm pleased that Google is reinforcing my postulations. I believe web designers will continue to incorporate features that do not depend on keyboard input, such as voice commands, virtual reality, augmented reality, etc., into the building of web experiences, if you will. Recently, my company has built an extremely powerful 3D modeling and rendering computer just so we can start experimenting with the possibilities of AR for marketing. We definitely don't want to be left behind if this is the next big thing. The next part of accessibility is accessibility for the impaired. This is something that, in the past has, in my opinion, at least, been very neglected. And I'm pleased that it's now being brought to the forefront more so than in the past. As you can see from the little animation I put on the screen here, there's various tools that you can install on your website, various pieces of code that will allow the users to interact with it in the manner in which they choose or which is more comfortable to them. The whole point is to make the web more accessible for everyone. The next thing I think is going to become more and more prominent as time goes on is YouTube, specifically the search engine component. YouTube has been basically helping their creators since the beginning with reach. Lately, they've added video chapter previews and auto-translate captions around mid-2021. Later on in December 2021, it launched a new feature that automatically linked to places mentioned in videos, giving users even more context. I don't want people to forget that YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. I'm not counting Google image search since it's integrated into the Google homepage itself, even though it is technically second in traffic and YouTube is third in traffic. And by extension, I think video is going to be big in the next, 48 months or so, the next couple of years. It's something that I've felt very strongly about since 2018, so much so that I started a media production company solely focused around video and podcasting called Purple Comma. It's just something I feel very strongly about, and it's not going away. Google indexes videos from millions of websites across the web to serve to its users, and these videos can appear in several different places on Google, including the main SERP page, video search results page, Google Images, and Google Discover as well. In general, my number one tip is to focus on the user experience above all else. Focusing on the user experience has never steered me wrong and is a great guiding light for all of your activities. Just ask yourself one question. Is this action going to benefit my end user or help Google connect them to my content? That's what I've been doing for over 10 years in one form or another, and it's never steered me wrong. Well, that's all we have for now. The whole point is to move into a Q&A discussion section. You can find me at oakcity.tech or purple-podcasting.com if you have any more questions. Thank you for your time.